Hello, everyone, and welcome to the broadcast. I'm newtmechanist, and today we're going to be getting back to our coding for our game. I've been doing a bit of experimenting offline, and we had a little bit of a break from some coding, so we're just getting back into it. Checking in with the kiddies first. We have a couple of folks in chat already. Hello. Let's get this so I can see it a little better. The eyeballs are wonky. Get these windows open. There we go. Do apologize. Sometimes I have difficulty remembering names. It's not 100% familiar to me. But hello nonetheless. Let's see here. We have Molly and Ember across from the keyboard, and Sky on the desk side yawning at me. Sammy crossed through the play area. She just hopped down from my lap. And then we have the two brothers over here on the bed. Camera here. We'll hop over into it. Oh, 1 second. This will be a mild disruption. Always forgetting at least one thing. There we go. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate, JD. I hope you feel better soon. So today, one of the things that we're doing, I have already done, it's kind of invisible, is I've updated it to 4.4.1 stable for Godot. That does open some interesting things for us. I'm kind of surprised that that just failed. Now what happened? Okay, it runs through Godot. And just at the start, I did notice an issue that I will show to you in a moment. So this is our new rendering method. It's not remarkably new. But instead of doing the one big shader solution that we tried, I'm doing something that's a little less efficient. This is using the Godot native rendering. No fancy tricks. And the reason that I'm doing this is, at least in this format, it's saving us, well, we get our Y sorting, we get our animation, but it's using the native sprites and whatnot. What this is going to let us do is use shaders for special effects on the sprites, as well as work with things like particle emitters. In the prior model, we couldn't really do that. Not and have viable Y sorting. Particles would have had to be above or below everything. And that's not right. Will I be streaming tomorrow? Hopefully. Still using shaders for collision. I do want to try a Godot native one. 4.4.1 stable has an alternate physics engine available to it. I think it was called Rapier. They built it in as an option in the engine. So we'll see if it works better with having collision shapes. There may still be some hiccups since the movement would be different, but we'll give it a try. I don't know if we'll start that today or not. But here, let me show you the issue I'm annoyed with. So we have emit periodically. That's what's causing the little explosions every now and then. If I put the gate here, 3-second gate, what this implies is that after 3 seconds, it should begin emitting the explosion. But having added that, if we look, the explosion only appears on the catbot, which is as if the spawner modifier were not present. That is, this is not there. This weapon doesn't get consumed properly. For testing purposes, I did. I made them spawn very frequently. So let's. Explorer, data files, levels. This is flop around player. Try that. We do need to figure out what's going wrong on the C side. Actually. Can I do mods on the game? Technically. You will be able to. The way I've set up the data files, the text file you saw me editing there determines how those slime creatures spawn. So it's not wired in to do the modding yet, like how it should work. But it's you would be able to override files, let's say. So that's generally working. Let me reload our... Oh, I left Steam open. Let me reload our C# project here. Just a moment. We did change the ground, so the C# one might not have got the memo, you know. Load this up again. Okay, immediate issue. Method not found. It shouldn't be. Interesting. Interesting. missing? Shader Collision Manager. Hey there, Lore. Good to see ya. We are trying to figure out why there is suddenly an error here. This guy has joined me. I lap here, he is drowsing. Alright, so some method is missing here. Let's run it up again. During device storage buffer create. Oh, it mentioned that the shaders had a different pattern to them for loading them up. Weird that it's still functioning, though. So, the 4.4 version mentioned that it used a different reference for things like shaders. JD, usually I stream for about 3 hours. Sometimes I run a little bit longer. And sometimes I need to cut it short. Okay. It's an instantiate that it says is failing. Fails here outright. Okay. Which means... it's not getting into this. So it's not actually in the instantiation. Let's get into our actual collision manager here. So it is entirely this. And we get to here. Look at our immediate window. Okay, we can get our script. So we're getting our script, we're treating it as a resource, we're going to get our resource path and get base directory. Interesting. Say shader file relative path is there. So what's going on? All right, our whole services startup is failing. Hey there, Lunar. 90s mat. Have I added a 90s mascot 3D platformer mini game that's 10 times longer than the base game yet? Not yet. Okay, that's failing out, so this might be a bit of a red herring. It's game, collision, shader based. So it's trying to load this shader. And it fails in the process. Shader collision components. It's this one here. Do I play Real Dart? I don't know what that is. So probably not. Okay, it's one of these methods here. There we go. So it's 401 that ultimately fails. Instantiating it, but because at the time it's able to run the entirety of get script to here. All right, let's. So we're getting an error in a new and interesting spot that when we run it through Godot, nothing goes wrong. We run it through C#, though, and something goes wrong. Eight. Using 4.4.1 for the .NET SDK. Okay, now we have a full method not found. That's very weird. How... There's nothing being called except for this new. Okay, so let's actually look at shader collision components. There is a string-based pass-in. We do have a revertible change that we can make here. The UIDs of all of these have changed their format. The thing about this file has actually changed, though. So we're going to... Sure. Backup project. We're going to put the convert in as a separate commit so that I can actually keep it distinct of us trying to make it work. They range... JD, how old are my cats? They range from Molly being a little over... somewhere from 1 to 2, up through Sky, who has got to be... Sky's got to be 6+ at this point, I think. I don't have their documentation. They're all shelter cats, so there's a little wiggle in there. Shader collision components extend what? Nothing. Just a protected class. So what method is missing? It's kind of confounding. Wait, Godot, RID. It's rendering device storage buffer create. That doesn't happen here. This is not where it's going on. Hey, Crow Doctor. Yeah, Do No Harm has some potential to it. The thing that I enjoyed was kind of the vibe that they were going for. And that's that sort of outsider arrives in a town where something is subtly wrong and it slowly gets worse. I like that vibe. The gameplay wasn't great for that. There's definitely... I feel like it's shallower than it could have been for the kind of the setting that they had. Okay, this isn't what's actually going wrong. Right here. This is where it's actually going wrong. Or this general area. Yeah, storage buffer create. This is important. This is very important. So this, I believe, is going to almost immediately happen. Okay, yeah. Right in the new. But the way it's working out, where it's failing up. We're not even getting to that point. At least we can't. Can I break before it and then run to here? So again, you're seeing programming. And that's code is a set of instructions, often abstracted well above what we're actually talking to. But it's akin to kind of a spoken language that we use to tell a particular compilation tool how it should write the actual instructions to do a thing. So you can have issues at multiple layers. Right now, we're trying to find out what is actually going wrong. The error that we get appears at one spot, but the language, the terminology used, indicates that it's happening somewhere else. Can it run to cursor here? Nope. So this is failing as if this line is the point of failure, but we see how it says storage buffer create is not found. That's not happening here. Storage buffer create happens in here. In specific, right there. No, and here. Again, we're not even being allowed to get to that point. That is confounding. Hey there, Con. Because just calling the new on it is triggering the error. As if it's actually being called, but like the error can't happen where it's happening. At runtime. Like it's not capturing it at that point. Okay, let's put some try catches in place here. Okay, let's copy that for a moment. Try catch here. If you're not familiar, try catch says begin doing this stuff. And if there's an error in here, a non-fatal error, how's the game going? Overall good. Running into some issues. We have updated the rendering logic, and then we've also updated over to the new engine here. Okay, try catch isn't even getting us past this. The rendering device that we get doesn't seem to have storage buffer create on it. Is there... something further that we can do to address that? So it's implying that this does not have what we want it to have. I mean, the coding is like a lot of... it's almost like a muscle memory kind of thing. Is you can pick it back up later. If you have not done it in a while, you'll usually need to kind of practice again. But I know the feeling of, I haven't done this kind of thing in a bit, so it takes me a while to get up to speed, So it should have all of the methods that we're talking about. Size bytes. The data. Oh. Where do I edit that? I need to edit this. Here we go. Just what I'm looking at is that I'm launching it. The parameters I'm using are not correct here. Let's try this. Okay. So this runs the project using the Godot executable. I had this set to the 4.3 version, but we have updated the project to use 4.4.1, so everything was going wrong. I am pleased that there is not actually a problem. I'm annoyed that it took me that long to notice what was going on. So we'll update this right here. You can see we were calling 4.3 as opposed to 4.4.1. Womp womp. Well, thanks for joining us, and good luck there, Con. All right. So, one of the bugs that we want to address, now that we've seen it happen, is when we're creating the weapons here. I think that's in inventory. Which inventory? Okay, this is the one that's going to consume the subsequent weapon as soon as we found it. So this particular... Okay, this is why it's not getting to it. Is that the gate is blocking it, I think. Do-do. So we're going through, we're making the weapon, and now we're calling handle message on it. The gate is probably going to eat that. No, it's only going to call it on the first ones. Spawner item, when it handles message, we're going to go in, we have a behavior. We go and we're going to tell the entity to handle the message. We pass it into the base behavior. And this is where it's going to break down. The gates are going to eat it at this point. And I don't want to have yet another specialized message. So, how do we actually do this? This is a message that I want to pass down the chain fully. Is this really the place for a message? Because one possibility would be to tell... This is part of the structuring here. We are extracting an entity as we go along. It's not until we have created... There are two things that happen here. Let's show that. It's in the base inventory that we need to do that. Convert weapon to entity. So one of the things that we're doing here So we get which of the spawner items it is. We extract the entity relevant to it. And then we are telling that particular weapon to stop spawning. We can get any number of them, but that one stops spawning when we do this. So it will never trigger. And we need that to happen pretty much immediately. But how do we get that to occur, even if, when we're building the weapon, it is a gated element? So this part right here is the operative part. We have finished making the weapon. Now we're going to call initialize on it. So we're sending that whole thing down the chain here. We could call the initialize on it again here. Hey there, Void. Welcome. Okay. We can do this. This is the relevant point then. Because it's only relevant okay, we tell it, get the prior weapon. Okay. Yep. So I think we could do this here. So we're going to move it from here. Behavior.handle message. It would seem that you did. This is not me prohibiting it or anything like that, but a reminder to a few folks. If you change your user handle, I am even less likely to recognize you for a while. You might as well, and it's whenever you do that, assume I will start referring to you by that handle and might not recognize you as anything other than a new person at the beginning of some streams. Just a heads up. My memory for names is already terrible. Again, you can change your name if you like, but if you pop into a stream and say, hey, do you recognize me? I probably won't. Okay. I think we can do this. There is no entity yet, so we can say null here. Oh, I haven't watched that latest Puss in Boots movie. I've actually heard good things. Hello, Tanuki. Welcome. Okay, so this time we're going to say this again. It's here. Just so. Nope. We are creating it. Generally, I don't ask for spoilers. I may never get around to watching it. But it's also been all over the internet, What will I call this game? Not sure yet. Nyanite Survivors is the working title. But that's just the working title, so like the project code name, Which may or may not have anything to do with what it ends up getting called. It's kind of like how the Nintendo GameCube was Project Dolphin. Okay, we should get here. When we do that. Okay, I see what's happening. I remember that. I mean, a lot of different companies have had a lot of different version naming conventions. It's kind of like how Android versions are often named after desserts or sugary treats. Okay, that's what's happening. Okay, well, they are now getting consumed, but... it's working. Let's try this instead. Yep. Okay. So for the most part, this is always going to come in as 0. The weapon number should pretty much always be 0. There might be changes to that. But again, for the most part, 0. I could have it where we try to get multiple entities where it will go through and consume as many of them as it can. But yeah, okay. That solves one of the problems. So what we're doing is we're telling the behavior that we freshly created, tell me if you need to make a weapon out of the next thing, tell me here. Or do it here. And we're building them in reverse order. So the last weapon gets built, inserted at 0. We are going to ask it as we're building the current weapon and say, okay, do I need to consume weapon 0? And you could attempt to consume multiple in a row, but you'd have to account for the fact that this could return null. Let's look at that again, just to be sure. We are not going to have it spiral. But after 3 seconds, it would start emitting the explosions. Help if I press tab and not escape. Okay, that is not working. Okay, is it not 3 seconds? Let me look at our data files here. Oh, let's wait 3. We are getting one. It's just... it consumes the explosion. Like it's... Some of them are. Some of them are. Weird. Okay, so what we've encountered is we've got a bug in our weapon generation logic. There's a particular type of power-up that converts weapons into parts of other weapons. So we have the yarn ball and we have like a little colored explosion that can happen. If the explosion and the yarn ball are not modified, they are two different weapons. The explosion goes off right on the player, and the yarn ball fires out. But if on the yarn ball I add one of these multiple spawner effects, then the explosion stops happening. And it's only based on that power-up as to when the explosion will happen. You effectively create a combo as opposed to two individual weapons. So behavior, it's a multiplier. Periodic weapon entity. All right, we're going to put that in here. Immediately go in and put this here. Okay, the gate is not opening here. Okay, it just now opened. What's going on? Data files. It's a behavior, it's a multiplier. Periodic weapon entity has no gate. What is changing about it? Once again, gate, periodic. So here's our initialized message. We let that go by. Should have already fired. That gate should have opened. Okay. So now we are going to look at our gate logic here. You in place and you in place. This should be peeking that gate constantly. Why is that not happening? Why is the try open not happening on the timer gate? So we go in, we have a time passed message. We're going to call into base behavior, and we're going to call in as a time passed message. gate. That. Our entity is yarn bullet. Okay. There's one gate. We're going to get the first gate, and we're going to pass a time passed message into it. That's a collision gate. Where is that collision gate? I think I know what's going on now. Okay. Where is, so behavior groups, group yarn ball. So we have a collision bounce. Collision bounce has no gate. There is a collision gate lurking around somewhere. Oh. That's unfortunate, Calvin. I hope you feel better. Gateway 3. Okay, I think I know. Yeah. Let's go into our items. Special collision gate. It's not a timer gate, it's a collision gate. It has to strike something. Okay. Special behavior. We have collision gate, so we're going to do special wait 3. So it's testing collision gates. Losing a pet is always sad. Wait, not E8. So now, 1, 2, 3 explosions. So if the yarn ball lives for 3 seconds, we start to get these explosions off of them. If the yarn ball lives for 3 seconds, it will explode on impact. So this lives for X time is generally going to be one of the basic patterns here. Is it has to go for a period of time before a new behavior appears. So like blows up on impact or changes projectiles on impact is, or emits on impact, I should say, is likely to be one that's gated by like after 1 second kind of thing, or after X seconds. So the missile has an arming time kind of thing. What that allows us to do is have some fail safes in for the behavior being really computationally expensive. The yarn balls live for 10 seconds. If they begin immediately emitting new projectiles, then those new projectiles have the entire 10 seconds to be emitted. So in this case, there are going to be 7 explosions created, or 10 or 7. Probably 9 or 6. And that can make a big difference if it's not the explosions. The explosions only live for about 1 second, and they're cheap after that, comparatively. They still render for a full animation cycle, but they aren't doing any sort of meaningful collision or anything like that after the first frame that they exist. So it lets me get away with having way more yarn balls when they're going to emit. So we can show that happening here once this gets rolling. We're definitely going to lose frames. We can see the rendering method is much more expensive like this. So at only 1300, we're down to, between 30 and 50 frames a second. In that range. We can go much higher if we render entirely on the GPU in a single pass, but that restricts our options. We might be able to go even further if we go into like particle emitters and whatnot for some of the things that we're creating. But setting that aside. So we get about 1,300 objects. Let's pull that weight out. So removing that weight for 3 gives us another 200 some objects constantly. Doesn't seem like that would be a lot, but there's a lot going on constantly in that case. We've lost another like 20 frames a second. Are you likely to see this in the end game? Very unlikely. If we put track random enemy on, you get a much greater coverage, so you can see what is actually happening. Like, it's very, very busy. The explosion is a placeholder. I still think it looks neat. I'd want to figure out... I'd want to do something different. Hey there, RC. Okay, so that is fixed. That. no alpha version of it yet. We have a lot of the pieces necessary for that kind of testing, but I'm still working on versions of low-level behavior sets. So I don't want to get too far into the weeds on further behavior accordingly. Or at least I don't want to get too far into the weeds on testing. Otherwise, otherwise we'll have too many instances where I have to like scrap feedback, you know? That and there's not a lot of like game to try yet. It'd just be similar to what you guys are doing as far as watching it happen. Exactly, Lunar. It is a build the skeleton and add the flesh. Most of what you folks are seeing on the stream is skeleton work. But this folder is full of, to some extent, flesh. I like having said that. These are data files that represent things we can do. I still need to have a better method of generating the layout of a level. This is the testing level. See that little black speck there? Zoom in. That's level 1. The testing level. I think I've hard-coded something somewhere else. Two different types of tile. I can't remember fully how I was doing this, but this is not sustainable. Like I cannot use this method. These are the different images for it. But also things like in the level we have a list of different spawn events that would be part of it. And then if I look at the spawners here, so enemy blob around player. For level creation, aside from the map, you would have a whole bunch of these. Each one of these having a indication of when does it start spawning, when does it stop spawning, how often, how many things, and where to spawn them. So in this case is after 5 seconds and until 20,000 seconds have passed, up through 20,000 seconds. Once a second, it will spawn 10 blobs in a circle around the player that is going to be off camera. So when we start the game, there's a delay of 5 seconds, and then we see a lot of blobs spawning. What that allows us to do is have that like scripted series of events. At this time, this creature starts spawning with this frequency, but after this long, that stops, and then we would start the next one and the next one, that kind of thing. I think there are different structures I could use for that, and we may have to look into that for legibility, but until then, this is working. For reference, the thing that makes the weapons go is actually the same logic that makes the monsters go. As far as appearing. Just happens in a different place. And the weapons ignore the start and end behavior. They have a different pattern for when they fire. I'm sorry. They are assumed to fire all the time and never stop. So one thing I do want to look at is using a different physics engine for it. So we can look. Rendering physics. There's dummy. Don't think I still have. I wonder why that's there. So for 3D physics, they've added that. Okay, maybe that's. I thought they for 4.4 they added a different physics model that would cover 2D, but apparently not. That's unfortunate. I may still try the physics model here. But real quickly, though, here, we're going to change the physics down to 30 frames a second. This will change the process tick. Three of them spiraling, tracking a target, emitting projectiles. Now you can see the movement isn't as smooth. Though maybe you can't because the video that you're seeing is at 30 frames a second. But trust me when I say it's a little choppier. But with that pattern, let's crank up the number of things. Yeah. So you can see we're at 1,500 things and we're still at like 300 frames a second. We may have to go this route just because we want to be able to have... We want to have a lot of things on screen, and I don't know that we need the precision that 60 frames a second would give us. We are rendering as fast as possible. For reference, at most 8 physics ticks can happen per render tick. And since we've got 300 some render ticks, there's plenty of time. But yeah, let's make it weirder just to things get really squirrely. Let's remove this and move it to a collision so that we see more of the yarn ball movement. There's a lot of logic going on with the yarn balls here. See, right now they choose a random direction and it emits 81 of them at a time. They move in a snaky wave pattern out from that. Then, after that logic happens, They are pulled towards a random enemy, each one choosing its own random enemy. Then after that, we apply a spiral outward motion. So the center of that spiral out is whatever has happened before it. Then we set the impact. It doesn't matter that the impact is here. It's within the same logic block. And then we have a spiral in. That spiral in is tracking its center to be wherever in the outer spiral we are. So the wave and any spiral creates a really fluid pattern like that. So if we take the track target off, we'll get a very different result. We get a lot blurrier. I really don't necessarily like that. Or and out, in. Yeah, 30 doesn't look good at all comparatively. I mean, this is still a whole lot of things on screen at once here. Let's look at this. We're going to see... Go into our inventory settings here. I don't know if the UI will handle this properly. No, it kind of does. Okay, here's 5 yarn balls. So every second we fire 5 different yarn ball spreads here. Then for each one of these, we are going to give it that. The last one will periodically emit another yarn ball that will spiral out. Not actually seeing the spiraling part. This one should be spiraling. But it's not. Weird. Okay, let's change that one to be a homing mouse. Make sure I have the right name. Wind up mouse. Okay. Yeah, that last one, the ones that are being emitted don't have any of their behaviors. We have a new bug. New bug. Oh, let's not be too hasty on that. Let's... clear out a little bit here. Yeah. Okay, why does it not have that? Look at our base inventory when we convert it to an entity. Let's just check. Copy. Just in case. Nope. You'll note on that. We're putting track random enemy on it twice, just to be sure. So we hop over to return. As a base behavior, okay. Now we are going to do this, and it should rebuild the whole thing again. To return. And its base behavior is 5 behaviors: lifespan, move straight line. Does not have its split behavior in there. How is that happening? Wind up mouse. Entity's base behavior. Yeah, it's not calculating it either. So this behavior set should have split into 3, that kind of thing. We know the weapon is there, but it's not finding... This is not present. The homing mouse should be getting built first. This bit here. So right here, we're iterating over each of the rows. We're doing rows, then columns for it. This is for the layout. Technically, this is YX as far as visibility, but the collection is a list of rows, and each row has columns. So, rows, columns. Conceptually, it's a bit of a hassle, but visually, it's a bit of a hassle as far as the code. Okay. Put that there. And we move that. Okay, so the first one is the wind-up mouse. So now we're going to go through the columns here. We have a null inventory item. Okay, then we have a 3-spread behavior. Here's my run to cursor. There. So the first one is always should always be base behavior. We're setting it up. Spawner item. Okay, we have a spread multiplier. Yeah. Then we insert it into spawner items. As that entity, base behavior. Oh, that's right. Its behaviors contains nothing. What? How did that just go away? That makes very little sense. So we're going back to front here. This first one should be the mouse. Oh, no, we should jump to here. So we have our wind up mouse thing. We have our inventory item entity. Then we can get the spawner item off of it. Which is the wind up mouse bullet. Which its default set is a 5-part base behavior with no subsequent behaviors. When we get to here, this should be our 3 spread item. Yep. So we duplicate that. We now have that element. Our behavior is still that. It changes nothing to get that 3 spread in there. So we have our behaviors to add has 1 element there. Now we run to here. Spawner item behaviors. As the spread there. Spawner item has the base entity, the wind-up mouse, and its behaviors to add here is the spread. This has only worked the way that we thought it was going to. Okay. We need to look at our adding logic here. Okay, this isn't accurate. That's not accurate. This only gets us the entity without any of the upgrades on it. Behaviors, spawner item. Spawner item dot behaviors. Now we are going to say emit 3 and you're going to spiral. Yeah. And what that lets us do here is make it so that we can have a lot of different behaviors on these. Without it ending up as too much of a mess, you know? Or I'm sorry, we can have a lot of different weapons with a lot of different behaviors. Again, this is 10 blobs a second and 5 weapons emitting once a second. One of the weapons is consumed by another. Let's remove that weight to keep it going here. So one of them emits a lot of these mouse objects. So this is giving us like 900 things. Now, the next thing that we want to play with, though, is collision logic. Because if I can get the Godot collision to be working, then we have some other things that we can leverage. One of them would be a tile map, because tile maps can have collision on them. So we could have things like walls. Additionally, we would not be messing with the GPU as much, but Godot collision is going to be substantially more expensive than shader collision. So we'll have to keep that in mind. Check something real quick here. All right. Hello, Sky. Sky is traversing the headrest right now. Give him some back scratches. Yeah. We're about out of food. Okay, we got a break coming up, so I'll wait for a moment. Yeah. The food dishes are empty, so he is going to be lurking nearby and becoming increasingly insistent that I do something about that. And when I say the food dishes are empty, they are actually empty. So one of the things, there are two things you can do as far as making your cats more comfortable about their food dishes. One is to elevate them. Put them like 4 to 6 inches off the ground. I think it's about 4. So that they don't have to lean down as much. It's hard on their neck. The other is that the dishes should be very shallow. The classic pet food bowl, the edges of it will actually hit their whiskers when they're trying to eat. And cats don't like that. That's really irritating for their whiskers to be pressed like that. That's why you get the cat is complaining that it doesn't have food, but there's food all around the edges of the bowl. It is painful for them to try to get that food. Hey there, White Wolf. Okay, so we fixed that. Let's get that commit in there. Berlin? How's that going for you? Is it like a vacation or a business thing? Trying to decide if I want to try to start the collision handling change, the potential collision handling change. One of the big advantages that moving to Godot physics could do is allow us to have things like line weapons or beams, that kind of thing. Right now, we can only have a projectile that is on impact or a circular explosion kind of thing. But if we had a non-shader based collision, we could be more robust about that. Okay, so technically we could do more complex shape collision, but that gets fiddly fast. We would have to pass a lot more data into the shader, and the shader doesn't like variable sized data. It wants very uniform things. Well, let's try that. Okay, so here's shader-based collision. Shape-based collision was to interface with the GPU directly. No, we could load that back in and see what happens. This is still... This method is closer to being able to use Godot shapes. In this one, we are only creating circles, though. Same logic, creating circles. Is this even still working? We're going to find out. All right, we are going to switch our collision method. There's our rendering method. Collision, shape-based. Fire it up. We're definitely getting some hitches. There's a performance issue going on here. Wow. They are reducing their spawn rate here. But clearly, there's some logical issues happening. All right. We have some debugger. Yeah. I acknowledge you, Sky. I do. I do. Is it break time? Yeah, it's Perfect. All right, be right back, folks. And we're back. Is this functional again? Okay. collision area. And open. That's right. This one's not going to handle. So entities can change categories. Ember has come to sit with me, which means I have to move and type carefully here. So, is that the case that we're worried about here? Okay, that's right. We are fully specifying. There's a lot of footwork that we put into this one. And it is clearly not working right. Are we defining how many areas to use? This will technically be slower, but put that on the Godot side to see if we've got errors being generated. Collision area. So we're trying this method because it is still effectively Godot shape based, but it gives us a little bit of opportunity to change things around. No, it's still ultimately not what we want. So instead of fiddling with this too much here, yeah, I know, Ember, I know. We are going to discard these changes. All right, we are going to make a new one. So it needs to be a collision manager. And we'll derive say add new folder. This is node based. Is this super vague in its naming? Yeah, but it'll do. Adage were. A overall collection. It is a public partial. And it extends collision manager. Using Godot in there early. Man. Using Godot. Scooby-Doo IRL. I know casual mystery investigation is something that folks get into. What is your fun fact, Bat Dog? Yeah, that would be true. Looking up generally does lead to the ceiling. What am I doing? Collision components that we need. Should be a process kind of portion. Check collisions and then in game. Ready. Okay, check collisions is the operative bit. No particular cleanup to do yet, but the cleanup method is largely particular to the shader one, but this is kind of just in case. Collision layer anywhere in the shader based one? No, collision layer is a remnant of the shape based one. This would largely not do anything. But it needs to. We could catalog all of the collisions that happen during a physics step. And only emit them when we do check collisions. Yeah. Okay, so my theory with this one is that every entity will have a collision shape on it. or a collision shape associated with it, then each time there is a physics tick, and in fact we can ignore the physics ticks in the collision manager if we haven't received a check collisions call. So we get a call, we say, okay, I haven't checked collisions recently, and we loop it back around. That way we're not... No, we wouldn't be able to do that. Well, anyway, so every entity has a shape. We catalog all of the collision events that are happening up until we get a check collisions call, at which point we process all of them. And repeat, essentially. Okay. So let's look over on the Godot side. We need to... we're going to get that out of there for now. Yeah, okay. I'm going to preemptively create a new scene. Let's do that. New scene. Okay, and the node collision manager has a script, which is node collision manager, just so. And we're gonna take a quick look at some of the things we can add. So we have collision shapes. It's a shape 2D with a collision object 2D parent. Okay. Well, let's... area, static body, or character body. Okay, we needed that area. There we go. And then it needs a shape. Okay, so each area 2D would then have a collision shape that is a child of it, and that collision shape needs an actual shape object. That's the sequence that we would be creating them in. So the node there's going to be a subclass that extends area 2D that would then create all its constituent bits. So there would be a collision node or an entity collision node that would extend area 2D, and then it would generate its collision shape 2D and the corresponding shape based on its data, which for now would be a circle of the size of the texture. So we would need a collection of those things. That would be the first marker. Each one of those things is going to be tied to an entity, would react to the entity going out of existence and emit an event. Okay. So if we look at our collision logic and some of these others, Actually, we'll look at the movement, not movement, rendering. Show you what I'm talking about. So in individual node rendering, node-based rendering, so we have a entity node renderer and a entity render node here. Let's rename that. It's going to pitch a fit. Entity collision node manager. That, go into Godot. Rename it to that. Here we are going to detach and to attach a script entity collision node manager. That, okay. So then we need another type, which is going to be a entity collision node. So, public partial class and the universal namespace, and it extends area to D. Okay, so this is the area, then that area needs a shape, a collision shape, and then that collision shape needs a shape. Sometimes the suggestion logic is good. There have been some terrible ones recently where I have no idea why it's doing, or it's offering what it's offering. Check that. Check this. Okay. That button there. All right. Okay, this needs a... This is its collision shape. Okay, so it's going to have a collision shape 2D and a shape. Not really until it's initialized that it's relevant. So we shouldn't be creating the shape right away. So we need a sort of initialization. I'm going to put this in here for now. We are going to need to have an on-entity remove here. entity plus equals that, but we're going to say on remove entity. Minus equals that. We'll also need to track things like moving the entity. Category change plus equals that. Okay, so with collision, we need to know if its category changes because that's going to change which collision mask we use. We need to know if it moves because we need to move this object. We need to know if the entity is being removed, so it's being deleted, because then that entity removal needs to bubble up through the collision node to the collision node manager. That and this. Giving a kitty back scratches here. You. Yeah. My microphone filters are pretty good, so you generally can't hear them talking. Come on. It says I'm uncertain. Sherbet is still often very timid, but he really does like getting back scratches. So he finally jumped up on the headrest here and is really leaning in. There you go. Okay, and then E dot entity position updated. That on entity position updated. So this is where we will ride ready. Okay, this we should be able to make a collision shape 2D and always have that one ready to go. It's the shape and the positioning that matters. Hey. I'm trying to decide how I want to do this because we don't want to destroy these things frequently. Nodes are expensive to create and move around. So having them essentially sit idle is cheaper. Precisely how we'll do that, not as sure. Like, we're doing that with the rendering shapes. They stick around. You just can't see them anymore. But they still exist. We just detach them from the main tree. So we'll do that the same way. Yeah. Which means in our ready, we can say Collision shape 2D. There's a new one there. Yep. Hey, buddy. He normally doesn't walk down me like this. But I guess he really wanted his back scratches. Yeah. It's getting, it's starting to warm up enough, or at least the season is the season where it would warm up enough that they're starting to shed noticeably. He is definitely not one of them that will let me get close enough with the de-shedding brush. And most of the others will tolerate it only briefly. So we make that, then this dot add child, collision shape. Now it does not have a shape object yet. This is when we do that. Shape. Yeah. Polygon shapes would be the slowest. Okay, in this we would be consulting the entity to figure out what kind of shape it would use. And user signal. Looking for the configuration settings for how to Okay, that is way deeper than we want to look at it. Okay, we treat it as if it is a circle shape. All right. Let's do that. Come on now. So then we are creating our circle shape here. Okay, and it is the collision shape that's going to be moving around. Or the area that will be moving around, more likely. Or we'll get the collision mask. And that will be able to convert that through the entity to what the... Well, we should be able to convert the collision mask and collision type directly. You know, what does this collide with kind of thing. Okay. We need the texture wrapper. To services, catalog. Texture. Entity. Texture key. There we go. This will be a float, but the frame width is an int. That's okay. Don't actually... Okay, we're going to keep shape around in case there's some fiddly logic for changing it. Don't actually need to, though. So, collision shape dot shape. So we can skip. Okay, yeah. So when we get an entity, we are setting up. Nice. We get an entity, so then we set up the collision shape on it. We are going to... Hey there, Ted. Rizani. But 10, welcome. Stop position, entity position. Not too long. Not too long. All right, so that gives us the shape whenever the entity's position is updated. Actually change this around so that we keep track of what the change was in case it is relevant. At least for the shader collision manager, it's very relevant. Really for all of them, it will be relevant. Thanks for swinging through then. Anyway. For this, we'll have to change the mask on the area. Category. It's dot. What is it called? definition of that. Collision mask. Okay. Yep. We can make this more complicated if we need to. Okay. So this complexity is less than we see in some of the others, because we're just telling Godot, hey, this happened. Well, I exist on this layer, and I collide with things on this layer. No, technically, I exist on these layers, and I collide with things on these layers. A mask is a bit field. To remove the position update. Expected override. I think there is a set callback. It's been a bit since I have dealt with this. Exit tree. You have to set a callback on it. But I don't know where we do that now. How do we do that? Not going to be the shape, right? Changes. I think it's going to be the signal. Yeah. Might have to do some reading on that. Yeah. So effectively, Godot uses a specific type of callback logic to it. Effectively, a different way of doing this. It's kind of ugly. Hello, Ember. Yeah. Says, I am done getting a snack. I need a hug. So Sky will... Ember is a shoulder cat. If she can get away with it, she'll try to... she'll try to put her forepaws on my shoulder and be cradled. Mason technically likes that too, but I feel like he doesn't understand 50 to 75% of the process. Like, he wants to put his forepaws on my shoulder, but he doesn't really know what to do with the rest of himself. Sammy and Sky are generally lap cats. Sammy, as long as I hold very still and give her lots of back scratches. Sky, it's rare, but he'll swing by and he'll sit on my lap. But if that's going to happen, he wants a lot of attention. Otherwise, he'll get right up in my face. Sherbet will only strafe me, usually. Oh, brief disconnection there. Weird. Let's double check, make sure it's still running. Yep, that's still going. That's still going. Good. Little connection hiccup. Just a second. Let me look that up. I need to figure out the syntax for doing this. Checking a web page here. Yeah. Yeah. Or some code samples here on how they're setting it up. So don't want to have it there. This could technically work. Let's see here. I don't want... Not really what I want to do. I really would like to avoid using the character bodies. Move and collide, I think we need to do. What do I have for area? we got? What do we got? Right, and we only really care if they are overlapping. Okay, we could call get overlapping. Consider using signals instead, but how to? If this works out well enough, we may revisit the physics server pattern. Oh, well, there we go. Thank you. Think we'll make this read only. So whenever this happens, we're going to raise a collision event in a similar fashion to some of these others. So let's look at shader collision manager here. Okay, we create a collision message, source to target. This to that. If area does not equal null, and that is entity collision node. Area as a collision node. That way we can set it up. Don't need to, we can call okay, this way we don't have to do bidirectional. This is going to be I collided with you. Yeah. This is more of a you collided with me based on the logic here. But it's kind of 6 one way, half a dozen the other. Yeah, let's do a I collided with you. Message. This is I collided with you. If there's an entity, do this. Shape to null. I don't know if this is actually what we want to do, but it's what we're going to do. This is when we remove the entity, we get rid of the shape entirely. Ember is zooming around. Let's see if we can spot her. Just lower left of it. I don't think we'll be able to see. Is an upper left. Deciding which litter box to use. Let's see here. Get void. Okay. We'll have an independent ID. So when the event happens, we'll set that up. initialize should have an entity and identifier. Oh, no. When we initially create one, we give it an ID. This is relevant. It's, I don't want to... Oh, no. Because we can reuse IDs. There's nothing that says this node will be that ID again. Could be. Yeah. Why? Okay, yeah. Do it that way. We create it, we give it an ID. Then subsequently, if we reuse it, we'll just take the one that we've got by ID. Yeah. So then in the collision node manager, we have two dictionaries. One of them is the list of active collision shapes, our collision nodes. Ultimately, this is just the children of this thing. Its job is to add them and remove them as new entities are created and removed. When the entity is removed, the collision node hears that on remove entity. And we will raise this event. We need to have that event. Ember has come back for attention. Node. It's trying to be consistent with some of my naming here. Yeah, just use the same name there. Then, if there's anything there, we're going to evoke it with this. Okay, that gets raised. So the manager is going to look for two things. The entity added from the entity manager, and it's going to look for the remove entity collision node for each collision node. Ember is back for more snuggles here. That said, I think we're going to break here. Might work on this a little bit more in the background, just to keep the momentum going. But the goal of this one is to see if we can use the Godot level physics instead of instead of the anything custom. Now, I may be able to revisit the physics server shape construction and just clean that up, but there are going to be limitations to that. I don't want to we have to be cautious of what kind of issue what kind of issues we'll run into. What this ends up doing is each of these areas and shapes can handle things differently. So I can have in the collision node right now, it's hard-coded to use a circle. We could have subtypes or similar that use different shapes, or just logic on these that tells me what shape to use, what shape concept to use. Which will probably be part of the entity and less part of the texture. So instead of getting the texture wrapper and checking the frame width, we ask the entity, what shape are you and what are the corresponding dimensions, you know? Yeah. Can we do this with the rendering server? Yes, as far as the shapes are concerned. We could do a lot with that, but one of the limitations there is things like hit scans. I do want to be able to use beam weaponry, and one possibility for that is just the draw a uninterrupted line for a particular distance. How many things got hit by that? That is a classic beam weapon kind of concept. Now, you can also do that with a particle effect that has multiple instances along its length. So each of them can strike, essentially. But you need to make sure in that scenario that we don't have duplicate collisions with the beam. The beam can hit as a whole, but it doesn't hit the same target multiple times necessarily. But we'll have to consider how to do that. The shader collision right now, its limitation is I can only do circles. But we may be able to work around some of that. Circle is not the worst. We might need to use squares, but that gets us into much uglier math, you know? You have to do multiple checks to make sure a square is, you have to check the corners, you know? Is any corner of either of them inside of it? Maybe we would have multiple circles for a given entity, you know? Since self-collision is not common, but then we run into the issue with repulsion, that kind of thing. Anyway. Okay, so we accomplished some bug fixing. We have the new rendering in place. We can always fall back, but this new rendering does open the door to particle effects. I do want to look at the alternate collision, just for flexibility's sake. By doing this, I can also have concepts like there are multiple shapes. So I could create a chain of shapes, and if any of those shapes within an area run into problems, or run into something, then I can report to the same event, as opposed to I have one circle per entity. This could be many shapes per entity. Opens the door to, like, hitboxes and hurt boxes on things, as well as dealing with the beam weapon question. Like, How can I have a single attack that can strike along its whole length without being a hit scan or penetrating? Alternately, I could have a hit scan every time we move, every time the position changes, draw the line from past to current. Did it touch anything? And that change in position can be the entire distance that it would go. Rendering that is going to be another thing, but that's an advantage of the new rendering logic, is I can have a particle that goes along that whole distance kind of thing. But yeah, I need to do a little bit more research on this, make sure I've got all of the bases covered, and get the manager rolling. Then we can see if that works. Next stream is probably going to be a game. I think I want to get a look outside run in there, or another day of look outside. Hopefully that will be tomorrow. I will get that together sometime today or tomorrow morning. There is an appointment tomorrow morning that may slow that down, but we'll see. We'll see. But I hope everybody had fun watching with us today. Coding streams are always kind of mellow, though sadly they do involve me staring and muttering a lot. But if you like what you saw and would like to see more, remember to like, follow, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. It does help the channel grow. If you'd like to consider supporting the channel, you can do so through channel memberships on YouTube and Twitch, as well as through things like Patreon. What is... What does that redeem? Ah. I see. I'm trying to find all of the... pointy paws, pointy paws. Well, thank you, Parakeet. Find all of the things here. Where is my... I haven't looked at Twitch closely enough here. Oof. Ma'am. 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 But thank you, Parakeet. Thank you. Ember always manages to have one little murder mitt, one claw on one of her paws that causes problems. But if you'd like to consider supporting the channel, you can do so through Twitch memberships, YouTube memberships, bits and corresponding things, as well as Patreon and Coffee. You can find links to the corresponding things either on the service that you're viewing through, or on the LinkTree link that is in my profile, is in the profiles on the various source sites. With all that said, I hope the rest of your day is good, and I will see you next time. Good night, everyone.